Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil, episode 96. Something not so nice this way comes.
Don't know where to start building your fantasy world? Do you need more? Does it make sense? Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination. This is the place that will help prime your mind. Now, it's time to heat up the forge, break out the mithril ingots and hammer. Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil. I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram. Let's sup from the mug of Java and build. As always, I'm your host, Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I'm Michael Miller.
And today's topic, we are going to do a Let's Build a Monster episode as we start to approach Halloween.
Getting geared up for the fearful season. Now, little girls are made out of sugar and spice and everything nice. I don't want to put any of that in our monster.
No,
I want him to
wrong.
I want him to thrive on the fear of people.
Pure evil is what we'll be
Pure
doing today.
evil. Shall we draw and write on the board as we go?
No,
I realize I
then
might have to
can't
adjust the
hear you
mic.
on the
No,
microphone.
that's what I was going to say. I was thinking I'll adjust my mic, but we'll just go.
We'll just go.
So Jeff and I know I did. You did some
I did some
you did
research
some
as well,
monster
too.
research. I did some monster research. Originally, this episode was going to be just build a monster, and then we kind of segued into the discussion about building a boogeyman.
Which seemed very aptly timed.
Yes, since Halloween is so child-focused. So we were both doing research on the boogeyman today.
Yes.
And I think that we've agreed that's what we're going to try to build.
So we're going to try and build a boogeyman. This is a completely brainstormed monster.
Yeah, we're going to do this off the cuff. So who knows what kind of train wreck it'll
some
become.
idea. He will be based in my game world of Gardul. I do not know if I'll ever use him or not, but
If you're not familiar with the show or Jeff's world, because like comic books, every podcast could be someone's first podcast.
that's true.
So if you're not familiar with Jeff's world, it is a medieval style fantasy world, lower tech level. There's no space guns. Well, actually, in your timeline, there could be in the entirety of the timeline of your world. But at the point in time that we're going to be creating this monster, low tech level fantasy,
Low-tech level,
swords and crossbows and wizards sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you've got trolls and goblins and dragons and that stuff as well.
Yes. So it has to be scarier than a troll. And maybe not more dangerous, but maybe. Who knows?
Okay.
We'll find out.
Are we going to make this boogeyman based off of being fearful to a particular race in your world? Because it just dawned on me that
That is something we were going to talk about.
I would have taken it from a human perspective, but
Thinking about but we will do it from a human perspective, from a Bedrachum culture.
okay. So we're doing this solely based on. I mean, we're doing that out of convenience because we're both human, or do you want to try to stretch it and
We'll
go
talk
for
about that a little bit.
like a goblin
We'll talk about that
boogeyman,
a little
or
bit, yeah.
or like what would be a boogeyman for like a bugbear?
Just well, ironically, a bugbear might actually be a derivative word from what happens when a boogeyman eats a child. I guess you saw that one.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
I read that too. That's probably why it came to mind. I was actually trying to think of gnolls. You know, gnolls.
Oh yeah.
That's the image that came to mind, but I couldn't remember the word from the D&D Monsters Guide, so I went to bugbear because
Which is really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, it's probably one of those subconsciously forced things.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So human Bedrachum based boogeyman.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that are not aware of the boogeyman, and I'm sure you are, because what child hasn't been scared by this?
yes. This appears to be a very nearly, if not universal, type of
like
thing.
global.
Yeah.
Like everyone terrifies their children with boogeyman.
Yeah.
Boogeyman is child focused. He goes after children.
And really what it appears to be are stories that parents come up with to tell their children to make them do things that they don't want to do. That was my take.
That the children don't want to do, as
Yes.
opposed to the parents. Like
Parents probably want them to do
like they're, do my taxes or the boogeyman's coming.
pay my taxes.
Pay my taxes. All right. So do you want to start at the top of the list, or is there an order that we should do a little better than the way we have it written on the board?
Well, we might go to that, but the first one, and I always do first, is what is the goal of the monster?
Well, actually, do you want to rate the show before we get too
Yes.
deep into it? So what's the rating?
So I don't forget and have to insert it later.
Yeah.
This is a basic idea. And the reason I decided on basic, where I almost thought intermediate at the beginning, is because it's so universal. I think it should become relatively easy to people.
And also at this point in time, if you've already got an established world, you've probably created a few creatures or monsters along the way at this point. So this process should be relatively the same. We're just creating a niche thing, a niche creature, a niche entity for Jeff's world, and subsequently you can do it for yours.
And ultimately we will be giving him a location somewhere where he comes from, or her. We don't want to limit it by gender.
I know. Genitor is so limiting. Jeff, I will not be limited by my genitor.
You will not be. Not in this studio,
not in this world,
which is Fearful World Studios today.
Fearful World Studios live.
And
recorded.
But that will be the following episode where we come up with a haunted location.
Shh, don't tell them. That's the tease. Okay. You are pre-teasing the tease for the next episode.
Okay. So whenever I start doing something, whether it's a culture or creature, whatever I'm building, I want to know what my end goal is, because then I remember to add important elements so I can have it the way I need it at the end.
So you're saying your goal for this thing you're creating, not its goal for existing.
Its goal. My goal of what I need it to be within the stories that it might be used in.
Okay. So what's this boogeyman's goal? We're just gonna keep using the word boogeyman until we give him a name.
Until we come up with a name, which we don't have one yet.
Right. You'll probably have to come up with a name because it'll be in Badracham.
Yeah. Oh, I can't pronounce that filthy language.
You don't have to pronounce it. I'm just saying, I say we come up with a name in English and you translate it.
Okay, so the goal of the boogeyman is to obviously play on a childlike fear. That's really...
Okay, so... But that's his goal for you. That's your goal in having him exist. Your goal for the character as a thing is to put fear into children's hearts.
Put fear into children's hearts.
That's it. So basically he's like, his goal is to be like a folk legend.
Well, his goal is probably
not his. My
goal for him.
If I'm referring to the goal of the thing, I'm going to call it its goal, as opposed to his or her goal.
Okay, so we don't.
But actually, but that would limit it by gender again. So I'm going back.
That's right.
All right, your goal. I'm going to say your goal or its goal.
Yeah.
So your goal.
My goal for is to have a folk legend that strikes the fear into children.
Okay, so to scare kids. That's the goal.
And which, if you do any research on boogeymen, you will find
universally.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them I read that it wasn't about, and it's sometimes topically or whatever, and we'll get to that when we decide that for him.
Yeah.
But it will be to strike the fear in children, because if you're making a boogeyman, that should be the goal.
Yeah. So what is a boogeyman is your next thing. And
we covered that a little bit already.
A little bit. My vision of a boogeyman is he's got to be supernatural. He can't be... the boogeyman lives, down in the cave. Like, that's where he is. There might be a place. I mean, like, we're going to create a place.
Yes.
There might be a place that you might be able to see him. But in my opinion, a boogeyman should be a little more ethereal, or at least have that sort of power. Like, it's not like you could go kill the boogeyman. You can't go to where he lives, find him sleeping, and kill him. He will always, for some reason, he will always be.
Or you might think you kill him, but then all of a sudden... some kid doesn't come home on time and is taken away, or whatever he ends up doing.
However. So
I think that's pretty good. I mean,
so for me, like, what is the boogeyman? Like, he's going to take physical form, but he doesn't need to.
Yes.
Like, he can move about.
Like the idea of the mist that rolls in and people disappear in, and you
I like the idea that he can move in shadows, i.e. like walk through a shadow in one location and come to another.
Yeah.
So I like that. But
we'll add that as one of his powers.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, what is a boogeyman?
For me, a boogeyman is a creature of legend, but specifically focused and obsessed with children.
Okay.
Not necessarily evil.
Really?
But perceived evil.
Perceived evil because he's a punisher, basically.
Or
a discipline.
He causes the effect, even if he doesn't intend it.
Well, of course. But what I'm saying is, on a really rudimentary level, he's a disciplinarian.
Yes.
Like, if you really, really want to strip it all down,
he's a principal.
Aside to the fact that he's
supernatural.
He's absolutely terrifying.
Yes.
Okay. You have his motivation. Now, obviously, we're talking about the world builder's motivation is to instill fear, but that may not necessarily be the boogeyman's personal motivation.
It might not be, and because one thing you wanted to determine early on is, Does it do it because it has to, or does it do it because it wants to? I like the has to approach.
And so his motivation might be a reluctant necessity.
Yes. And for me, I love the idea of, it's like maybe he feeds off of fear. Literally, like his sustenance.
Like that's how he survives.
Supernatural survival is incumbent upon generating the fear.
But it has to be from kids because for some reason adult fear doesn't
or satisfy.
Maybe they've grown to not believe in him in the same way, so that their fear for him isn't as potent. But
let's remember that when we get to power.
If he was able to climb the corporate ladder in the fear department and get adults to be scared by him, maybe his powers could affect adults.
Yes, I like that.
Okay, we can add that in there too.
Well,
so his motivation is fear out of necessity for sustenance because he can't survive without it.
Yeah,
that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, because I'm not a huge fan of evil for evil's sake, and I do believe there's a place for it, and that does exist in my world.
I am going to write this on the board.
Well, just don't talk while you do it.
I'm going to write fear for food.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep it basic.
All right. So
because I don't want us to forget anything.
That's a fair point.
All right, keep going.
All right. So now we have his basic motivation, and usually I don't like fear for fear's sake, as I was saying, but there is a time and place for that as well too.
Now, we're going to be getting into attributes and powers and what have you. I know I have a couple of ideas. My ideas I didn't want to quite mention in the motivation department, but they kind of half fall in motivation and half don't. So they might actually modify the fear for food a little.
Well, we'll talk about them. Let's see. One, does it fit? Or two, does it make us want to change? Because the thing to remember when you're building is
you can change it.
As you're coming up with the ideas, like, that's really good and I really want to use that. And it doesn't really fit. So I need to tweak something.
Yeah. You don't want to shoehorn it in just for the sake of you liking it.
And you also don't need just one motivation. But I'm saying if it's something as basic as food, that does become a bit of a necessity.
Oh, actually, I just realized that I am tweaking what I want to add in a way that actually fits into this well. So it's going to work out good. Okay,
so next we'll jump into the physical attributes. And you can go in many different directions here. If you go back to like Boogeyman of Legend, there are some ideas where the Boogeyman is like the Fog movies. That is actually a story of Boogeyman where the fog sweeps in and you just hear scrapes and scratches and you don't really see anything, but if you get caught in the fog,
there's something in there.
You are gone. And a lot of times it could be a critter.
Oh, that sounded like something from far away.
There is a boogeyman right now at the door.
Just as Jeff said, critter, there's a critter clawing at the door to the studio, the door to Fearful All Night Studios.
So stay out of the fog if you're in the Connecticut area tonight. But we can't tell you what tonight is because you won't hear it until it's too late.
I wish the microphone could pick that up.
Maybe we'll get
I don't think it can.
I don't think it will, but
there's literally like scratching and clawing coming from it's the cat. It's
if you can hear it, don't be creeped out.
Yeah, don't be too scared. The studio hasn't been invaded yet.
Just remember though, it'll be too late because you won't hear this episode because it'll be recorded. No,
yeah, but you know what? If it got posted, one of us made it out alive.
One of us.
Yeah. I choose to hope that it's me.
But everyone in all of Connecticut is currently at risk.
Probably. So, his attributes. So, what's he look like? How's he show up for it? Now, what I think you're going for is the fact that because he's preying on children and what runs? See, now we're getting the cries.
It's even worse.
The cries of the undead are coming from the door.
That is my black cat.
The one that
is Boo Bear.
The one. Oh, that's
not the scared one.
Oh, not the scared one.
That is the.
Do you want me to open the door?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to open the door. Or even this deep in there.
A lot of times she's out at this point, but she came back in and now she needs to be up here.
Well, it's raining, so.
Okay.
It's wet.
Boo's back from hunting, feeding, we'll say. She's a black cat during the Boogeyman episode.
And I was just about to say that to add to this, we have a black cat has now crossed our podcasting path.
In general, if it has form, usually it's humanoid form, but you can't necessarily make out the face.
I saw actual pictures that did. I like the idea of not having a discernible face, but I think there should be some discernible characteristics in the face region. That way, different children, when they're sharing it with other children, can have something to describe. Oh, he has fangs, or he's got these glowing eyes. So you can't maybe make out the whole face, but those two features are discernible. So
there's
it's like
definitely at least a vagueness about it. But you're right. There are definitely occurrences where, like you said, the eyes.
Red is generic. I want to go with like a steely gray that kind of glows, and not like the entire eye, but just the iris.
Okay.
So you see those two circles.
Or maybe just the pupil. But that
no, because I want to see the dot. So I like a steely gray. What do you think? But like
that would really fade into black.
No. It glows. So like when you see it, they would slowly come in. So you'd see the color in the darkness of your closet, so to speak, maybe, and you'd know the boogeyman's here.
Okay.
Do you like that?
We can go with that.
You like that?
Yeah.
Do you like teeth visible too?
No.
Maybe slowly
no
grin?
visible weapons.
No visible weapons.
No visible weapons.
Okay.
That's not to say that
I'm
it
gonna
doesn't kill people.
I'm gonna write glowing steel eyes, or like a light gray is what I have in mind. So, is the boogeyman? Let's talk about his prowess. Like, is he large? Is he tall and thin? Is he short and squat? Is he wide? He's humanoid, so he's shaped like a man, right? Is he a man or perceived to be a man at some point?
Most of them are usually humanoid.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it almost coming together. Sort of like there's this vagueness. Maybe you see the eyes glow, and then the creature...
And then it takes form?
It takes form, but it's soft. It's like feathered, but not in a good way, where it's like there's no hard edges to it except for maybe just this vague face with those eyes.
With those eyes. They can, that will fade into presence and fade out of, maybe. Mm-hmm. Like maybe there's something that you can say to make him kind of back off, or something you can do in that moment. I know I'm getting ahead of you got my imagination going, so I'm just shooting from the hip here. Cloud-like physique? Like as it like mist-like comes together. I don't mean fluffy like a cloud.
How about just shadows that come together?
Shadows that come together?
But then it's like there's the darkness on the floor, and it starts pulling together into the shadow that's now in front of you.
Now, can it pull a shadow away from something that would have a shadow?
Yes.
So like you've got
it would come out of it.
I don't mean that it would come out of it. I mean it removes. Like you have like you've got moonlight coming in, and you've got a chair in the middle of the room, and there's a shadow on the floor from that chair. That shadow actually leaves. Yeah. Like maybe it starts crawling across the floor to form the boogeyman. Yeah. Okay. So shadow body, we'll call it.
Shadow body, we'll call it.
Okay, so what any other physical attributes do we want to like what are kids going to remember? Like they saw the boogie, they actually saw him. Like he came to my room last night. I saw him. He was all over the place at once, and then became in the corner.
Yeah.
Like what do you mean he was all over the place? There were shadows everywhere in my room.
It's like the shadow from my bed.
Shut up, Billy. There's always shadows in your room. No.
They weren't. They were gone.
They were all there, and then they slowly disappeared, so that there was no shadows. Like my chair had a shadow, and now there's no shadow. And
one interjection I must put here from a world builder's perspective, this is where the idea of race becomes very important. And the reason being, if you're working on a race that sees perfectly in darkness, a shadowy figure will not bother them. It will probably not be where the fear comes from, unless they can't not see through it.
I disagree with you a little, because they might be able to see at night, but can they discern shadow? Like, even though they can see, they can still see a shadow.
They might not be able to see it. And if they do...
If I'm in a parking lot at night, and I see the shadows of the cars, but there's still tons of lights, so it's still nighttime, I can still see just fine, and the shadows start to move, I'd still be scared out of my mind, because shadows don't do that.
Yeah, yes, but my point being, darkness bothers us because we have trouble seeing in it. From a psychological standpoint, one of and I'm guessing here, and I can be wrong, and if you don't want to listen to me, that's fine. I don't want to say this is definitive, but my take on the reason darkness under the bed, in the closet, those are scary things, i.e. shadows and the darkness coming and disappearing from there and coalescing into the single form.
Well, the unknown.
Is because there's an unknown, because we have trouble seeing there. So for us, our brains are trying to fill in those corners. For someone that can see through it, that probably would not bother them, unless it has to come from a different perspective. Like maybe that's a darkness they can't see through.
Well, I think that your caveat also, I think your caveat's more of an acknowledgement because we're creating a boogeyman for a human-based race. So just keep
this is a caveat.
Yeah, the caveat is just simply keep the race in mind. You're going to need to build a monster / boogeyman based on what they're afraid of.
Yes.
And if they're not afraid of the darkness or shadows at all,
then it would not matter.
Maybe the race we're talking about is a shadow race, and thus they'd be like, oh, that's normal. I can do that. So obviously you'd make your boogeyman differently.
A shadow race probably would not be afraid of a shadowy thing.
Right. Yeah. That's my point. I was using an extreme example to point out the fallacy in the creation. So we are still covering attributes unless we think we're done with it. We've got glowing steel eyes, shadowy body, which is semi-power.
We're kind of doing attributes and powers.
And power.
At this point
Definitely.
Definitely the shadow body. It's like this darkness and shadow coming together. And I like the idea that the room brightens as it's happening. It's like
I'm not necessarily saying that.
Brightness isn't the right word, but it's the darkness and shadows are gone from where they were and they're pulling together.
Right. Like I honestly think that as those shadows pull together, the room should get a little darker.
Well, I think it becomes darker as it overcomes you.
Right. But my point is that while he gathers the darkness to pull himself together, he creates more darkness by being present.
Yeah.
So you can see him. You're like, oh, a shadow has taken form, and you can see him. But at the same time, it's almost like things got a little darker. So it's kind of tough.
Well, here's my thing is, and this is where I like the idea is, as it initially happens, the room seems to brighten because of that. But then it moves upon you, and it literally will go over you, and then everything seems darker.
And go over you, like on top of you, like
pass through you.
So he'll actually pass right through you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I also like the idea to, again, you want to create fear in children. I like the idea of him getting up in your face and not touching you. So it's absolutely terrifying because you can't move.
He's not touching you.
He's right there.
He's going through you.
Yeah, but if it goes through you. To go through me implies that once he's gone through me, he's behind me, which, while scary...
But the room becomes dark from that point.
From that point forth.
So from that point forth, it's not pitch black dark, but now it's like that creepy, ominous, like everything's dark.
Like now you can't really make things out.
And he, outside of his eyes, you can barely make him out from it now.
Almost like him making the room darker only through your perception now allows him to move anywhere in the room better.
Yeah.
Okay. So what other powers?
Okay.
Actually, this is where I was thinking earlier, like power / motivation. I love the idea of like him being pseudo evil tooth fairy, like maybe one of his legends, if not maybe someone knows a person who knows a person that it happened to, like he takes teeth. Because think about how one, painful that is.
Yeah.
And two, sensitive and scary, the idea of the invasion of him actually going into your mouth. What do you think of that idea?
I'm fine with that. And I have a graded idea for him for punishments.
Graded punishments?
So there's 2 levels.
Only 2.
Well, there could be more, but there's 2.
If he was a member of a secret society, there'd be like 7 levels.
And 4,000 within the 7.
Within the 7, right.
But my first idea is one is like, he can come because of certain bad behaviors.
Okay.
And with Bedrachum, it's a very order class-based society. And so it'd probably be infringements upon that to where you disrespect your parents.
Okay.
Especially because it's, from the family standpoint, very important.
How, in the Bedrachum culture, how difficult is it to feed people? Is food is it standard farming? Like we have to consider the era. Actually, everyone needs to consider the era in which they create.
And the era we're doing is sort of, it would be Iron Age Earth, like general timeline wise. However, with magic, one of the major focuses of magic in Bedrachum is actual food production.
So food isn't so scarce. Like we couldn't make a punishment. Be like, oh, you wasted some food or you ruined some food, so you need to be punished.
No, I'm thinking it's more of one, not doing what your parents tell you to.
Okay, so basic disrespect,
basic disrespect. This will make him come. This is when, it's like the darkness passes you and you look around and it passes you and you can feel it because maybe you chill off as it goes through you.
That also plays off of people's natural guilt of not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like if they feel that guilt or whatever, that's the boogeyman tapping.
And then if you have done something bad and the shadows start moving, oh my goodness, this could be the time.
That's a precursor to him showing, which are just natural occurrences, but feeds great into child fear.
Yes.
So,
but now I love the Candyman idea because one, I love that movie.
We ran down a list of things before the show, and
so one of the things I want to bring up now as we're doing this is the invocation.
Yeah.
And he can be invocated as well. And this is the thing that,
Now, does that mean like maybe he's not friendly to parents, but known to parents, like parents can call upon him?
Not by parents.
Oh, children can call him?
Children can call upon him.
Ooh.
But, it's sort of like this is where, and this is a great thing where if you do research on urban legends, you can kind of steal urban legends and twist them into your world and use that idea based on the cultures that you're working with. Because one, it'll tie back out to the urban legends that people maybe have heard of in the real world. And some people do buy into urban legends. But they're urban legends for a reason.
Right. There's a lot of great books on urban legends.
I
worked on a movie called, it was actually from a play called Urban Legends or Urban Folk Tales.
Okay.
Which later the movie title was changed to called Urbania. So if anybody wants to look out for this small independent film, it's about 15, 20 years old at this point with Dan Futterman and Alan Cumming. It's actually a pretty decent movie.
Yeah.
But I worked on that.
Very cool.
And we had on set, this book that was all about urban legends and urban folktales and stuff that exactly like what you're talking about, where we all thought, I thought that was true. No, it's all wrong. It's just a BS story. It was actually, I think the name of the book was called The Choking Doberman.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that story.
No.
We'll get into it later.
All right.
So invocation.
So there has to be a way to invoke him. And I'm torn and I don't know what to brainstorm this. I don't know if it's something the kid does on accident that's really over the line.
So like the kid can accidentally call the boogeyman to him?
Yes. And it would have to be something very naughty, like not finishing your broccoli or something like that.
Well, that's not that naughty. That's why I was asking if food was a big deal.
I hate broccoli that much.
I know, but my point is that if a food scarcity...
I was joking about that.
Okay, all right, you're kidding. Okay.
Okay.
So like if they hurt their parents in some way, emotionally or physically...
Yeah,
but purposefully, like if they were playing with a stick and they just swung it at their dad's ankle for no reason, like that would be like, ooh,
that might be on the edge. But if you're mad and you strike your parents,
or scream at them,
or
a big show of disrespect,
even if you don't do it, but if it goes through your mind,
don't even think it. The boogeyman will come.
Don't even think it. Because that's the great thing. And
Billy, don't think that way. The boogeyman will come. That's how siblings will get each other going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he's coming for you now.
I hate it when mom does that. Don't even say that. And is there something right there in that moment that they can say as an anti-invocation? Like you have to throw salt over your shoulder, or you have to do a given thing to avoid the boogeyman.
How to stop.
That's going to be under how to stop. Okay.
We'll talk about
we'll get to that. All right. So invocation, but when you say invocation, I think this is what I do to flat call him, not this is what I've done wrong to unintentionally bring him upon me. I don't consider that an invocation.
Well, invocations have to be on purpose. Like you could accidentally read an invocation at a church and not even know it.
All right. Fair enough. I was thinking you meant there was a way to get him there on purpose.
I think there might be that too, but I don't know if that's so important for the contest of what we're doing.
Okay. So obviously then this is really just
possibly you can
how or why he shows
to
up.
Really get him to come. But I personally just don't care too much.
Okay. So then the flat, obviously the big thing we're just talking about here is disrespect, which I'm going to add to the board.
Yes. And it's severe. It's not like, oh, that's mean, Mom. It's severe, but it's even thinking it.
Okay. But is that the only thing that brings him upon children? So not just parental disrespect. What else could they do?
Well, like I said, hurt somebody. Physically hurt them or someone.
Or someone else. Someone undeserving.
Someone in their house. It's bedrachma would be in their household.
Got to be household.
Anyone in their household. That would actually be a very big bedrachma thing because there's a hospitality component to the culture.
Okay.
And there's a ritual that you perform in this time to make sure that if travelers come to your house that day,
Mm-hmm.
the God of hospitality is shining down upon your house.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it would. Yeah, I'm thinking it would have to be anyone in your house.
Anyone? How about anything, i.e., a pet or the physical structure of the home?
The physical structure.
You ruined your bed. You set your bed on fire.
The physical structure, yes. The animals, no.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So your household structure and your household units.
Very good.
So your older siblings are going to be in more danger because they
I would have been
shouldn't.
doomed.
They can't be picking or bullying their younger siblings, or the boogeyman will come.
Yes.
Okay.
And now it's worse though. It's not. You're not losing a tooth if he comes. Oh no.
What do you? Oh. No, see, when I was talking about the tooth thing, I'm talking like if he comes to do that, like he's not taking the loose tooth like the tooth fairy does. Yeah. He's extracting a healthy tooth.
Yeah. And I think that's his normal visit.
Okay.
That's after he passes through you and he works you up, he pulls a tooth.
Yeah.
If he comes this time, he kills your parents. Oh, yeah.
I think that's a little severe.
Oh, yes.
He kills your parents.
He
like
kills
for
your
real.
parents.
Now, this is Bedracum, so he could really do that. Like this is Gardul. That could really happen.
Yeah.
You're okay with it being that savage?
Oh yeah.
Just for what would invoke him to kill parents? Like if you're repetitively bad?
No.
This okay. If you
break, it's breaking the rule of hospitality. So it's really almost to those who've come into your home.
So he'd probably be like some sort of demigod representative of the god of hospitality. Maybe
or caused thereby, or yes, it is supernaturally linked to the god Fromen.
Okay, so kills the parents.
Yeah.
So again, I want to know what would lead to that.
What would lead to that?
Yeah. What would I have to do as little Billy to get my parents on the stake?
It is doing something.
What if he didn't like his parents to begin with? Why would they come for his parents? That wouldn't be a punishment to him. What if you have a little kid that's effectively the Joker?
Okay, you are in an Iron Age society.
Yeah.
And you have no parents. What is your likelihood to survive at any rate in your life?
That one thing has nothing to do with the other.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
How many Jokers have come out of exceptionally poor countries? I'm not saying
I don't pay attention to
parent fratricide doesn't happen. And he might know that and judge on whether or not it's the parents or the kid. So it might not be the parents.
By he, you mean the boogeyman, not he, the child.
Yes.
Okay.
So there might be a little bit of that element to help control that too.
Okay.
Sometimes it's the kids, sometimes it's the parents.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's one is
so
the element of
the basic
terror.
gist is if the parents die, odds are the children are not far behind because people are not going to be taking care of them.
And this would be severe disrespect or bodily injury to guests.
This is the thing. Here's what we add to it. The boogeyman, if you're really bad, the boogeyman comes in and he kills your parents. Mm-hmm. And if he kills your parents, he kills them in a fashion that everyone knows that was the boogeyman. Can't help those kids.
Oh yeah.
Don't help those kids. He'll bring the boogeyman to your house too.
That's right.
So that's where, that's why even the bad kid doesn't want to disrespect his parents, because everyone will know they'll be ostracized and so that's part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
we'll have that in.
Do you want to go with something classic, like the parents will be found dead, all of their hair white? It would have to be some discernible, obvious physical characteristic left on the body.
Do I want to get disgusting? No.
It's Gardul. It could be disgusting. You just don't want to be too disgusting on the show.
Yeah, no. I like my horror cleaner. I don't know, it's just a personal thing or whatever. So it takes all my Caligula references out.
No teeth. Maybe he takes all of their teeth. All of their teeth. How good is dentistry in this tech level?
There's none.
So my point is it common for people to have no teeth?
Actually, what you'll find in societies that don't have refined sugar, there's very little problem with teeth decay.
That's true.
Yeah, unless there's a natural flaw to them.
Okay.
But I think it's one of those things where they are dismembered and there are no teeth.
Okay, so you want dismemberment. So like missing body parts.
Yeah, because I don't want to get too gross, but yeah, dismemberment.
Well, dismemberment is gross. Like if the kids wake up in the morning, the boogeyman's mom, the boogeyman came last night, and then they hear silence.
Coalesces around them and rips off the arms and the teeth. and
all the teeth are. But the arms are still there, though. That's the thing.
Oh, all the pieces are there. Yeah, but I don't see how that's gross.
The teeth are gone.
The teeth are
It's
gone.
not like the teeth were found in the room.
Like the
teeth are just gone, and maybe the gums look weird. Like you or I could take some tools and bash someone's teeth in or pull someone's teeth out. Yeah. They're maybe everything in the gum looks just fine. There's just no teeth.
Literally, the teeth are gone.
There's just the teeth are gone.
Okay.
I think I still like the white hair too.
We'll throw in the white hair for you.
Yeah, I like that one. Just because they can be like, there's white hair. Check their teeth. Yeah. And then they open their mouth, because you might not look in someone's mouth, the mouth of a corpse that has no arms. You might just think, oh,
fair enough.
Someone came and cut their arms off.
Pre-signal hair, no teeth.
Yeah.
Dismemberment, but in a non-gross way.
In a non-gross way. The body parts are neatly stacked in the corner. They're in Ziploc bags already.
You're the kid, and you see the tendrils of the darkness wrap around your parent, and
so the child
filter into the
the child has to see this.
Oh yes.
How do we do they like in a daze end up in their parents' room and they're like, oh my gosh, where am I? I must have been sleepwalking. I'm like, oh my gosh, something like that.
The parent walks into their room in the morning.
It could happen in the morning when they think they're safe. Mm-hmm. Get up, you're still in bed. Mom, I had a nightmare. Well, what happened?
In a non-gross way.
Okay, in a non-gross way. I'm just gonna write non-gross.
Non-gross.
So non-gross.
And once again, I'm going to over-reiterate.
No teeth. White hair.
Boogeymen are about torturing children. I mean, they really are. It's not fair. And I think if they grow beyond this, they are now this creature of legend, sort of like a Dracula or something, a severe horror, Cthulhu, in a non-gross way. Or one of those things.
And the other thing that I also read in a bunch of the things that I was looking at is that it was very common for the boogeyman to actually just take the children away.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was multiple versions where the boogeyman actually carried around a sack on his back, and he would actually just scoop the children up and never to be seen again.
And there was also one instance where there was the wagon. I think this was Bahamas. And if you're out late at night, he would grab you. And if he caught you, you would go on the wagon and you'd become the small person like him forever. And I want to throw in another caveat a shout to Finland. Theirs was not evil. But I think this was also a late at night one. If you weren't at home before it was dark, this creature would come after you, but you would be so frightened by its appearance, you would run away from it. And then I believe you'd end up disappearing.
Okay. That still doesn't sound good.
No, but
it doesn't tear you to pieces, i.e. our boogeyman.
It was more like being chased by Barney. But you're
Barney, no,
and maybe rationally so afraid of it. Okay.
All right. So after invocation, we have must have threat,
which is what I was just talking about as you were on the board.
So
it's about children, and this isn't so much about the monster. This is just a reiteration of the warning that there really needs for it to be a classic boogeyman. It needs to have the thing about children, and really controlling children's behavior. Yeah.
So we also have up here when and why he shows up. We've pretty much covered why.
Pretty much covered
when. I think he visits to scare you at night, pre-sleep, or maybe after you've fallen asleep, you wake up.
All night you wake up.
Any time in the night he can show up.
He can show up any time in the night, but it's the morning if you're really bad.
It's the morning if it's really bad. You push him. So that means they might have a horrible night's sleep or no sleep at all on a night where they know they did something wrong. And they wake up hoping.
They look around and the room looks fine again, and then the shadow of darkness envelops the parents.
Oh, see, I'm talking about like a morning where they didn't push the envelope, but maybe they think they did. So they're just scared witless until the next morning. And in the next morning, hoping that nothing coalesces and that their parents are okay. And then their parents are okay. And they're like,
and then the darkness goes.
You always want to add it. There's no safety in your version.
No.
Okay.
Well, unless you know how to stop them, which you always need a way to know how to stop them.
In your version, the parents are going to be like, don't disrespect me. Don't disrespect me. The boogeyman's coming. The parents would be more afraid. The parents would be terrified. Think about it.
Maybe that's his ability to get into that next level of monster.
What do you mean? Like, if I was a parent in a world where this happens, I don't know that I would have children. Or if a child started to be disrespectful, I'd ship them off.
Well, the problem would be stopping having children. humans aren't so good at not having children.
Well, that's true. But my point is that I'd probably send them off to live with their uncle just to make sure that the boogeyman doesn't come to me.
Wouldn't matter.
Boogeyman would still come to my house even if he disrespected the uncle?
No, he'd go there, but I'd kill you too. I'm just that mean.
You're not fair. All right. Well, then what could I do to prevent this?
Okay. So we need something, and it needs to be awkward. Because it's like I said, it's like a pinch of salt over the shoulder.
Now,
I don't like stopping monsters, though. So.
I think I don't like stopping monsters. I think there should be some little sort of ritual that the kids can do to let them know they've acknowledged that they did a disrespectful thing and they don't want the boogeyman. Kind of like, I'm doing this and I promise I'll try to be good.
Yeah.
But if it starts to get too much, it should be something significant that maybe the parents additionally help with or do. Like, please don't come kill me. Well, I've noticed my child doing this ritual every single day. Well, so maybe I should do something too.
Here's a caveat escape for the parents.
Okay. The
parents can sacrifice their children.
They beat the boogeyman to it?
To beat the boogeyman to killing them. And
that's going to be okay in this culture?
But Draken culture, this is getting to the period of time where they're starting to frown upon human sacrifice, but there are some extreme cases.
It still happens.
Especially in rural
And it would
areas.
get rid of that disrespectful kid.
It would. And it would also help keep the kids in line from just trying to off their parents.
And it would actually, if there's 5 kids and the first one gets sacrificed, it's going to put the rest of them in line.
Remember, when it's to that level of a punishment, though, that's a true disrespect or physical harm to a guest to the house.
Okay.
At that point, it's not just any damage around the house or even disrespect to the parents.
Well, let's say for sake of argument, like you got a young teen.
Mm-hmm.
When are they considered an adult in Badrapkan culture? 13?
10.
10 they're considered an adult?
10, yeah.
Okay. So let's say you have an 8-year-old that like stabs his father, like just sticks a dinner knife in his leg. Mm-hmm. So it's not a mortal wound, but obviously super disrespectful.
Yeah.
The father to be like, okay, well, I have a knife in my leg now, but now the kid super disrespected me. If I don't do something, the boogeyman is going to come and kill me because I've allowed this to happen in my home. So, I like the theme that this is building.
Yeah, it plays both ways.
It plays off itself.
Yeah.
So he grabs the kid and sacrifices him to basically save his own life.
Well, he wouldn't need to do it because the kid stabbed him. He's not a guest in his house. Because remember, this is ultimately insults to the god.
So is that what it has to be? To be a punishable death to the parents? It's got to be something against it's got to be some anti-hospitable thing.
And here's another thought. If the atonement is done, the kid's hair turns white.
Okay. So you got to figure that any young person that you run into, like a 20-something or 30-something that's just got shock white hair that welcomes you into their home, they're probably going to be the most hospitable person you ever stay with.
Yes.
Like all the innkeepers across the town, all shock white hair, even if they're young. I like this. Okay. We got to keep it moving because we are pushing it on time. So do we have a name for him?
The name is, geez.
Like I found all the names were like weird wording. Like there was only a couple. There was one that was literally I forget what language it was, but the translation was literally black man.
Yeah.
Boogeyman and tons of different spellings and verbalizations for boogeyman was found. But
I did see on one site where they said that the etymology of it was actually buggyman.
And coming from
the guy who pushes the cart around during the Black Death, who's taking the corpses.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Which is interesting, and I don't know how true it was, but it was on the internet.
Yeah, so it works. It was on the internet.
However, we don't have something like that going on. Usually, Badrakim are very big on
I'll tell you what.
Naming things.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to put a pin on naming him. I want you to take a look at some of your...
We'll take a think about it, and we'll do that on the top of...
We'll do it on... because
when we build a residence.
So we'll just hit the tease right now because we're on the subject. Yes. The tease for the next episode is we're going to create a home. We're going to create a haunted place, or at least an area where you expect him to live or be found, or maybe maybe that's where you go and sacrifice the kid. You have to go to that place.
Or that's where the atonement the kid has to go do. It's in the creepy location.
So that's where the kid has to go?
If the kid makes the atonement. Or the parents, either way.
I think they both. I think one or both. Like if it's the kid, he can go by himself and kind of make an appeasement to the boogeyman.
I think if I was the parent though, and it was a disrespect to someone in the house, I'd be going with them.
True, but no. What I'm saying is, if the parent's going to sacrifice the kid, he's got to go. He's got to take the kid to that place and do it, so that everyone knows. Oh, little Billy's going to that place. They know what happened.
Because remember, there's a huge spectrum here where at first it's these shadows moving and they cross over you and you get cold. To you're losing teeth. To you have white hair. To your parents have white hair.
No. You said the white hair happens if they.
That's still punishment.
If they atone for it.
Yeah. But I want to say that's still a punishment, though.
Well, it is. But my point is, if you've atoned for it, chances are you won't go down that road again. You won't make the mistake of bringing him back into your house.
I would hope not.
Unless maybe one of the other kids does.
Yeah,
Billy's got white hair. He got caught. But
Billy's safe.
Yeah, Billy's
you're in it for this
Billy's
time.
Like, look, wasn't me this time. Yo, it was him.
And that too, the parents might be judged poorly if all of their kids have white hair.
What? They atoned? They're good. They're all good kids.
Let's just kill the parents anyway.
Okay, so the tease for the next episode is that the haunted place that all these children will be sacrificed and atonement will be created for our boogeyman. But the point is that we'll try to name him between now and then.
Yes. And the thing to remember, too, is boogeymen don't need a haunted place. We just want to make a haunted place, and we're just going to happen to place our boogeyman and make him involved in it.
Okay. What is the world builder task for the day?
Well, it's going to be to create a boogeyman.
I want to add to it, if a boogeyman doesn't belong in your world, create a monster, and keep in mind that I'm using the word very loosely here. Hannibal Lecter is a monster.
Yeah. That would be a cop-out for this episode, though.
Well, yeah, but if there's somebody, if somebody's building a very real-world-based world, they don't and a boogeyman doesn't belong there.
But remember, but there are boogeymans all over our world, and at least to the best of my knowledge, they don't exist.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So you're saying tell them to make a legend within their world.
Yeah, because you might still have the folklore about something that's not real in a realistic setting world.
Fair enough. The real world task for the day is go out and scare a child needlessly. Children need scaring.
Yeah.
The only way to raise a child appropriately is a basis of fear. I was terrified of my parents, but I respected them greatly.
Well, not only that, though, it's like, and this is why you need real world boogeyman in your life. I'm sorry, little Jeffrey, if you don't eat the broccoli, the
boogeyman's going to pull your teeth out.
He's going to pull your teeth out.
So you either eat the broccoli or you lose your teeth.
Yeah.
That's your choice. That's your only choices this evening.
Total fear-mongering.
We called him earlier today to let him know that broccoli was going to be served tonight. So he knows that the broccoli's coming.
That's right. Which creates more fear.
So, and I prefer it be children that you don't have. I'm a big fan of scaring other people's children.
Okay. I just want to add it as a caveat here.
Don't do anything illegal.
Don't break into your neighbor's house and scare your children. That could get you in prison.
Do you know what? And I'm not kidding here. I'm a youth group leader. Like, I'm great with kids. I'm actually on my way to a youth group meeting right now, which is why I have to cut the episode short. I love when Sarah and my wife, are in public. Mm-hmm. It's great at the grocery store, and you got a kid in like the neighboring aisle, and he's sitting in the cart, and the mom is looking the other way, and then he looks at me. I'll give them dirty faces. Mm-hmm. I'll also just as often make them laugh. Yeah. Every once in a while, if I see them being naughty, their mom, I'll try to give them a scary face, and then just turn the other way, look at a magazine like I didn't do anything. If I can make them cry, it's just makes my day.
Or if you're not creepy like Michael, you could just...
Hey, I'm not the one that wants to tear the arms off of parents and spread the body parts neatly around.
But at least mine's in a fictional world.
Hey,
you go torturing children.
I am a fiction writer. I lie.
Very good.
Well played, sir.
And with that, we will see you at a haunted place. And as always, make sure to go to gardul.com. That's GARDUL.com for the show notes. It'll be under podcasting. World Builders Anvil. That's a great place to get all of the information from the episode that you've just listened to and to see all the resources that we've talked about in this episode. Thanks for joining us this episode of the World Builders Anvil. Please be sure to rate and review us in iTunes, and please help get the word out to your friends about our show. And join me, Jeffrey W. Ingram at Gardul.com, to see the progress of my world and learn why I made the choices I did. And please contact me and let me know the topics you would love to hear in the future. Now strike while the myth rolls high.